All right, we are all ready. So let's stand for the pledge of the flag, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is the October meeting for the Lancaster Village Planning Board. Remember, we're recommending an advisory board only, not a final decision-making board. We'll start with the review of the meeting minutes from last month's meeting.
Motion to approve them?
All right, we have a motion approved by Stephen.
I read them already.
I'll second it.
July meeting minutes. And a second by Sam. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
And that is July.
That is July, yes, correct. All right, we'll move on to the agenda tonight. We have one thing on here, it'd be the Verizon Tower at 79 Sheldon. Yeah, just come on up and talk briefly here.
I'm Steve Pantuzzo, Nixon Peabody, attorneys for Verizon. So we have submitted to the village here, probably more info than you need in this application. It's relatively straightforward, so it's a proposed co-location on a tower that already exists. So the plan is to just basically put the antennas at a height of 135 feet for the center line. I believe the tower height right now is 150, so it would go under the existing equipment. So there's no plan to extend it or increase the height or anything. The equipment cabinet and battery cabinet would all go within the existing compound, so that would be right on site there. So it's essentially all be built within the existing site. The tower is owned by American Tower, who has licensed space as part of the application materials, licensed space to Verizon to co-locate. So relatively straightforward. If there's any questions on the plan or I guess the project in general, happy to answer.
So this currently isn't a Verizon tower, and it's just adding the Verizon service to it?
It is, yeah. So I think I actually don't know who. It might probably one of the other big ones on there now, AT&T or somebody. So yeah,
Right.
Verizon would just add their equipment just to basically fill a pocket of coverage. They're generally trying to both improve coverage in a certain area and also help with capacity. So if there's existing towers that are at capacity in the area, it's like if you're at a stadium or something that you can't get through on your
Right,
phone, it's
right.
just capacity issues. So on a smaller scale, those are what they're trying to do.
How long is it going to take them to do that complete install?
I don't think very long. I usually bow out after at building permit stage, but I think it's probably 1 to 2. Maybe I don't know. It might be probably less than a month. I don't know how long it takes for to get the bids and hook into utilities and so forth, but I don't think it's too long of a process once building permit and everything is pulled.
Mostly not big trucking or rigging since the structure's already there, or?
No, I mean, obviously, I think the biggest one would probably just be to get to the height. I actually don't know how they put them on there. If it's if they pull in with a crane or if they have people actually out there. But I think it's pretty low impact compared to the original construction of the tower. So.
Right.
Part of the eligible support structure criteria looks like it has to do with the number of cabinets that are installed there. I saw that it's 2 currently. Would there be any circumstances in which it would increase?
I think in the drawings, they had proposed future.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's just if they're going to add an additional. Obviously, that would need to come before this board. So I think they just put that in there as a placeholder.
I see.
Yeah, it's just going to be the 2 for now.
The 2 for now.
Yeah.
Matt, do they need any sort of review of the current structure, or is that all
Well, it's all part of the engineering report that was supplied. And again, I think this is the second tenant that's going to be on that tower.
Yeah, I saw like a 92 and a 2005
Correct,
change, okay.
right. And then recent, I think it was in 17, they did some upgrades to the facility.
Okay.
17 or 18.
Yeah, the structurals, the tab L, I don't know if you guys have, if I have to scroll if you have it online, but it's down toward the bottom. Essentially just as the code enforcement officer said, it's just the engineering to
That was the next
demonstrate
thing I
that
was going to look at.
support it structurally. Don't ask me what it means, though.
It's not going to fall over, right?
That's about as, that's what I.
That's the key.
Anybody else have any comments, concerns?
No.
Make a motion, we recommend approval.
Second.
Is there anything more from building?
No, I've reviewed the plans, I've had conversations with the applicant on timelines. So it's just unfortunate with the last round of, last meeting cycle, we weren't able to get through that, but as soon as the Board of Trustees gives their authorization, we can issue the permit and keep up with the construction with some inspections. We'll
Sorry if I
request-
missed it, but you're starting right away, right? After approval?
I think so. I think this goes to the question of timing. I know sometimes if they're doing construction in the ground, they'll, maybe wait till the spring, but this one, I would imagine they're gonna try to get ASAP.
There's a couple of below grade piers and one slab
Yeah.
installation. I don't think it's going to be hurt by weather conditions
No.
at all.
The property owner had asked me, I was over there looking around, taking a look, he just asked me what timeline construction was.
I mean, I can follow up on that if you want and get a better answer for you. But my guess is they would go pretty quick.
Matt, you said a couple of piers, what are the piers for?
There is a weather cabinet, basically a snow cabinet that's going to protect the consoles, right? There's two consoles being installed. And then adjacent to that, there's a slab on grade that's going to house a generator.
Okay, you said piers, and I was picturing piers for another tower, and he's.
No, just piers for an accessory
Right,
structure.
okay,
Yeah, it's 4
okay.
poles and a roof panel.
Understood, yeah.
Like you said, everything's in the compound of that
Yeah.
fenced-in area. Well, if there's nothing else from Matt, we have a motion to approve by Jim and a second, second by Ryan, to approve the site plan. Anything else under the question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried.
Thanks, guys.
We're all set.
you.
Go Bills.
Thanks.
We will recommend this to the village board, and then once their approval goes through, you'll be able to get your permit.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Huh?
Visitor?
A visitor, yeah. How you doing? Thanks for coming again.
Yeah, of course.
It's nice to see you show up.
You guys too. So I was out of town, actually, at Nikon last month, learning about how to do my photo job. So I just wanted to stop by and talk a bit about some projects that I'm working on. One of them is the pocket park that's going next to this building. We had some designs drawn up by Labella, our consulting firm on this. And I passed around some folks to look at. It's more aesthetic phase. It's not actually, they were passed around with the anticipation they were going to change. The surveys haven't been done yet. I believe they are now done. So once we get a bit further along in the process, I'll work with Matt to make sure that stuff gets in front of you, so you can look it over and make sure it's up to snuff, and then make your recommendations to the village board.
Sorry, were those like public surveys or selected people?
The engineering company does, or they're doing their surveys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and these designs weren't public necessarily, like they were released in a meeting with that company, and I provided them, just like HPC, I let them weigh in on it because I knew they would have thoughts on this being a historical building and what kind of visual appeal it would have, and they had concerns about what kind of materials are being used in the construction of the fence and some pillars and things. And I sent it to beautification because I knew they would have thoughts on the green space and what that should be completed. So It was kind of targeted.
Sure.
But once you're further along, and I didn't want to give it to you too early, because I wouldn't want you to weigh in on something that's gonna change in like a month, right? I don't wanna waste your time, so like I said, I'll work with Matt to make sure that it gets in front of you, at the right time.
Excuse me, the Historic Preservation Commission glanced at the drawings last week, and there are some,
Yep, and I was, Sherry
Suggestions.
Campbell sent me feedback on it, and
Okay.
I passed that along to the company, and, so for example, I know there was question about lighting and the, entry pillars. And I've already received word from the company that they're going to provide more details on that.
Okay.
Lighting actually wasn't even in the original design. I've had a couple people reach out to me and say they would prefer lighting to be there, and it makes sense. It's gonna be a walking path to encourage people to park behind this building, visit the village and walk back, in this time of night, pitch black, yeah, why would you wanna, yeah, so lighting makes sense. Historic will have a chance to weigh in. I don't know the lighting guidelines off the top of my head, but we'll make sure it fits with the character of the village, you know?
Yeah.
And it's not like, you know, shining people's eyes or, you know. Fire department had some concerns about sightlines. The original design had a tree right at the corner, right where the path would hit hit the sidewalk for Broadway. And they're like, yeah, this essentially gets scary enough pulling out on Broadway as it is. If there's a tree in the way, then it's just not gonna do it. And I provided that feedback, and they're not gonna do that tree. So, you know, they're working with us. We wanna make sure it's a park that can be enjoyed, but also is safe and makes sense.
one of the biggest concerns, and not officially, but Picasso's, customers gonna sit there and eat and leave their garbage, you know?
Well, there'll be trash receptacles there, but it's meant to be a place for people to sit.
Yeah.
We're gonna put
Yeah.
tables there so people can sit there. I imagine Ashley and her colleagues at the village office will go out there for lunch and sit and eat, you know, it's, a public space is a public space, right?
True.
Yeah. So, yes, they will come out here and eat, and that's great. If garbage becomes a problem, we'll have a chat with houses about it and say, hey, you know, could we work together to come up with a solution on it? We'll be good neighbors, and hopefully they'll be good neighbors too.
They got tables in front as it is now. I mean, I've eaten
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah, this would be nice though, because it'll be a kind of an urban park kind of feel, I believe. You know, it's not gonna be, you know, giant trees and grass and everything. It'll be, patches of green space with a nice path and some nice seating. It's just meant to, mostly it's meant to be, something to draw your eye to walk behind this building to realize you can park there. To kind of provide that opportunity for more folks who are visiting the village. Like, if there's a big event that I'm driving to and I know it's gonna be packed, like on Clark Street and everywhere else, I park behind here, because it's never packed. Tonight it's busy because there's the meeting next door, but, you know, unless there's a meeting in this building, sometimes at the Moose, that parking lot is always empty, and it shouldn't be. You know, we as taxpayers pay to maintain that parking lot, so people should be using it, and this park will get people to do that.
How's that going to impact the parking for the firefighters when we have a fire?
So they have volunteer firefighter-only parking spaces. They're already marked, and they will continue to be marked in the future.
If I could just add, it may not be a bad idea to codify the specific timeframes, because as we read the code, it's only on Mondays and Thursdays. Are there events here Thursdays? There's 2 days out of the week where parking is restricted in those spaces. That's what's codified. The signs dictate something different. We may want to back
Okay.
into that
So when we
and
get
correct it.
so redoing this parking lot will happen, not until this park is done, because I don't want to redo the parking lot and then drive heavy equipment over it and tear it up. So I think this was mentioned during budget time this year. We had this conversation as to whether we should budget out fixing this parking lot. It just doesn't make sense until the park is done. So we'll have those conversations, and I told the fire department the same thing. We'll have conversations about the parking lot, making sure that it can accommodate what they need, but that's down the road a bit. It's not gonna happen as part of this project. It's like phase
Yeah.
two.
I've enjoyed the banter with the firemen, you know, you're not supposed to park there, and the code says Monday and Tuesdays.
Any other questions about the pocket park? All right, another big project, we just opened bids today, unsealed them, for the Plum Bottom Creek Culvert project. I don't know, Matt, has this board weighed in on that project at all? Is this something they would need to weigh in on?
They did initially retroactively, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so,
So the stage area
Mhm.
that was approved during that cycle, it did get some input.
okay.
So,
Will there be further need for review? it's an existing truck structure, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, well, they're proposing a covered type of a stage. The
Oh, he's
approved-
talking a culvert.
The culverts.
Oh,
The culverts.
my apologies. I am so
Yeah,
sorry.
Trying to figure
I'm
out,
here
yeah.
plumb by.
I don't remember
No,
talking about that, yeah.
no, planning commission, it's an infrastructure improvement.
Yeah,
Yeah, my apologies.
so no, okay, all right, well, that's gonna, we just unsealed the bids today, so that project should, I think last time I was here, at least the last time I spoke, I said a timeline that involved construction next year. We're still on pace with that, despite some delays, over the summer. So hopefully we can maintain that, and it'll be done next year, and then Clark Street parking lot will be redone, after that. Once again, it's doing things in the right order, to avoid having to redo that. And I guess, one thing on everyone's mind all the time is Central Avenue, that project is still slated for 2027. And it's, at this point, unless I hear something different in my meeting tomorrow, is still more or less on schedule for that trip. I think any other splash pad project that's still a ways out once. that
Parking.
happens. Parking.
Any idea for additional parking?
Right now, no, I know the mayor did a parking analysis of the village and identified 207 village-owned parking spots. I've talked to Mike Stegmeyer about doing a parking study of some sort to better understand utilization. I don't think there's any desire in the board right now to build any new parking lots. Whether there's opportunities to gain access to more parking is something that we've discussed, and it remains to be seen.
All right,
It's too early to really say.
I'm with the Lancaster Opera House.
Yep,
We have customers that are parking on School Street
yeah,
on a Friday and Saturday because West Main and this parking lot are just filled up.
yeah, I mean,
And, you know, the majority of our customers are 50 plus.
yeah.
They shouldn't have to walk that far.
You know, and the thing is, so, School Street, so let's say, for example, we put a parking lot in the green space down here by the creek. It's the same distance. Actually, it's actually farther from the Opera House than that. School Street is a great place to park. Unfortunately, there's nowhere to add parking in a built-out section of the village, unless we start tearing down buildings, which I don't think anybody wants to do.
You won't need parking then.
You won't need parking then, yeah, I guess, that's a good way to look at it. In the past, I know the village has made, or the Boys and Girls Club has made accommodations with the village for some parking. That could be explored again. I could talk about that with the mayor to see if he wants to do that outreach. I think there was a cost to that, but I don't think it was anything too crazy. So there are other strategies we can look at. We still have a wayfinding project we're waiting for New York State to provide the funding for. Unfortunately, we cannot spend any money on those signs until we get the okay from New York State, or else we don't get that money back. That was something that was started, we received the acceptance letter from New York State the week before I started on the board. And it's still going through New York State's process. Like Mike submitted everything he had to submit, and it's just, like Cedar Creek Park, we're still waiting for $500,000 for that park. So some of this stuff takes a while. I think this will go through faster, it's a lot less money. But once we have that, it'll be improved signage. It'll be showing people where these parking spots are. But I understand, like, the clientele that goes to the Opera House, how it's difficult for them to walk. The town hall has handicap spaces right there, which are great. And I know we added a few more to Clark Street parking lot, I believe, earlier this year or last year. So we try to make those accommodations, but there is just not a space to add more closer parking to the Opera House. It's not realistic. Any other questions for me? About parking or anything?
Any other projects or?
What's it, how many other projects? Oh, geez, watch the board meetings? Yes, so as part of the TAP grant project, which is Central Avenue, we're adding a mobility hub at the Twin Village Music Store parking lot. That'll include EV charging, it'll include things like bike racks and benches. I've reached out to the NFTA about moving the bus stop that's next to the roundabout on Central up to that, which will relieve some of the congestion that happens when the buses stop. And I've asked for a bus shelter to go there too. It's kind of just a meeting spot in the village. We just finalized our bid package to request bids for a fast charger at the existing EV charging station down in the park here. Other projects, we are submitting an application to Erie County CDBG program to put in a splash pad at the North End Fire Hall. Right now, we have the full court basketball court that is never used as a full court basketball court. So the intent for this project is to cut it in half, make it half court, and use some of the reclaimed space for a splash pad for kids in that neighborhood.
Excuse me, but you better check, I believe that tennis court belongs to the town.
The basketball court at the North
Yeah,
End Fire
yeah.
Hall?
Yes, I went through this when I worked for the town. And I believe there's a resolution, I could almost guarantee it. There's a resolution in the, town board minutes where that park was turned over to the town.
That park?
Yes,
I know Mechanic Street.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mechanic Street is.
Mechanic Street.
No,
Yeah, no, this is
the North End.
okay, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I'm
No, you're
sorry.
fine. Yeah, no.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
West Rollard,
Yeah.
yeah, at the North End
All
Fire
right.
Hall. Yeah, I'm like, as far as I know, we're
Yeah.
maintaining it, we're,
I'm,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So that is obviously not set in stone. I'm actually going back and forth with the company about the estimate they sent me because it did not match the numbers they provided earlier on in the process, but, that still has to get submitted to Erie County, and, we have to be awarded it before that even happens, but, that should be good, a nice, amenity for, the folks in that neighborhood. There's other projects I'm probably not. I know that, Trustee Miller is looking into having a smaller playground installed somewhere in Cave Creek Park. So when we have these big events, if they're more adult-oriented events, there's a place for kids to go and kind of hang out, like with sight lines to their parents. And then the stage. The village is working with Russ Salvatore to have a stage funded to put in that green space at the park to allow existing or additional outdoor concert type programming to happen.
Where's the intended location for that?
It's so if you are standing on West Main Street, next to Big Papa's Ice Cream,
Yeah.
looking down, so the clock is down there.
Yep.
If you're just to the right of the clock. So that you kind of have like the rise is a bit of a natural amphitheater.
Yeah, so
People
towards
can stand.
Aurora.
It'll be facing towards actually towards West Main.
Okay.
Yeah, because if it's facing, you have to be careful with the angles. The water tower does block a lot of the sun, as I know, because I hosted outdoor movie last year in that same exact location. And I joked that I planned it because the sun went behind the water tower, way earlier than it should have. Granted, it wasn't quite dark enough, but after a bit it was dark enough that we could start the movie. So it'll play up the hill essentially to West Main and to Aurora.
Is it kind of like in the river area, sort of that rocky area, or is it in the grass?
It'll be in the grass.
Okay.
Yeah, the DEC would not let us build in any closer to the creek than we've already built.
Got it.
Community Development Corporation proposed that about 15 years ago.
I will say I mentioned it to Lindrua at the beginning of 2024, the idea of the stage. So it's something that I think people have wanted. I know that we have the mobile stage, which has been useful for years. It's in rough shape. It's on its last leg. So this will be nice to have the option to use something else. I think, West Main Street has really gained an identity as like an event space. It's a street that's easy to close down. Well, it's not easy because there's always blowback when you do, but from a safety standpoint, from like a physical standpoint, it's easy to close the street down, to host events on the street. And this will just let those events, also happen down in the green space and expand onto the street. So it just solidifies that identity that it's built.
Cool.
Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Maybe next one.
We appreciate an audience.
Well, you have all your Facebook fans who are like, why isn't the sound working?
Does anybody else have anything to bring up? Matt? Any
I'm-
projects coming?
Well, there's always something is gonna come, something, there's a lot of people talking about a lot of different things. If I could just back into, older project, the Bowtie Park, apparently there's some change orders that are happening with the electrical system that's coming in. NICEAG apparently is going to be installing a couple of transformers on there, so I'm working with a contractor on making sure that the bollards going in the right locations, and they got a little bit nervous that they were not providing some of the equipment, and that they had to rely on NICEAG. So there's a little bit of delay and some change there, if you see it, if it comes to your attention, but that's pretty much it.
Could we get a listing of where we stand with our required hours, please?
I think you just sent that out.
Yeah, I think I just sent it out.
She did send that out.
Yeah.
Okay. I remember down there.
Did everybody get that?
Yes.
All right, 4 hours. Anybody else have anything? All right, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Second by Stephen.
Sure.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? What?
Yes, sir.